Hello, and welcome back to the MMT Reporter. This week's report has some tragic news. Our rider, Scott Gottschalk, got into a very serious accident on the No Boundaries tour loop. And so we wanted to give you some information because there's been a lot of call-ins from people wishing Scott well and praying for him and what's going to happen with the No Boundaries tour. And so we're here to give you that information. Along with me is the beautiful, beautiful Val Leichman, who's going to give us an update on what happened.
I don't really know exactly what happened. I just know that there was a major accident and Scott got hurt. But thankfully, Scott is doing better, and we're going to be able to have him call in and really share with the whole team exactly what happened.
And exactly what kind of sanity he has left, because let's not say he was sane before he did this, right? But let's see what kind of sanity and what condition Scott's in. He survived. Yes, he survived, and we're about to bring him on so that you can get it straight from the horse's mouth. So, Scott, there we go. There's our man. There's our old man. Our very old man.
It's old man.
No, the very old man. Just a fun name from some of the riders, that because he was the oldest person riding in the country, over 100,000 miles. He got that nickname from a dear friend named Patrick, who is also riding 100,000 plus miles, and we want to support him as well. So, Scott, tell us what happened on June 14th.
Well, I was on my way to International John Deere event where my family was exhibiting at this International John Deere show, and I was going to be the keynote speaker for that night. So I rerouted my normal I would do a 5-day loop of 1,000 miles a day for 5 days, and I rerouted that out of the typical loop and headed towards Illinois so that I could get into the area near Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was West Bend, Wisconsin, actually, for the evening of Saturday, June 14th. And I'm out there. Every morning would start at 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd get my witnesses to fill out their forms and take the pictures and get the receipts, and off I'd go. So I'm in southern Illinois Saturday morning at 6 a.m. in the morning, and it's another rainstorm. Go figure. I mean, it 5 and 6 times every day I was going through thunderstorms and hail and lightning, and the weather was just atrocious this year. And it's 6 in the morning. It's dark. I'm on Interstate I-88 in southern Illinois near Sterling, Illinois, and I came around this big curve in the interstate. I did not see it, but there was wash water that was washing across the interstate from the rainstorm, and it had grabbed a bunch of the sand from the shoulder and put a fine layer of sand right out at that curve, right as I made the curve at 70 miles an hour. And all I know is the front end of my motorcycle took off on me just like I'd hit a patch of ice or something, and the bike started heading for the ditch. I had two choices: either hit the milepost marker and a barrier fence right there, or I was able to get the bike to just go to the right of that to keep from hitting the barrier. But unfortunately, it pulled me down into about a half a mile long deep ditch ravine that went down from the interstate. So it ended up being a pretty good wreck by the time everything came to a stop.
Scott, I know that during the wreck, and the only reason that you survived this wreck in the condition that you're in is because there was someone there. Can you tell us a little bit about that long-haired individual?
Yeah, you always got to be a little careful about people thinking that you might have been a little loopy or in shock. In fact, the EMT and fire engine people and stuff that got there were worried that I was delirious and in shock. And I said there was another biker that stopped here and called in to 911, and so I can just tell you that at 6 o'clock in the morning in the dark, there was no other vehicles on the road. I'm on the one side of the interstate going north, and this other individual is on, I see another motorcycle on the other side. coming to the south, going a different direction, and I noticed. I said, "It's raining out. What's another motorcycle doing out here riding at this time of the day?" And there wasn't another car on the road, and all of a sudden I'm crashing. And maybe again, I don't know. I had already crashed, and I'm laying there with some pretty good injuries, and the motorcycle is pretty well destroyed. And about maybe 10 minutes later, I see someone through the brush. They are wearing a leather jacket. They have longer hair. They have a beard, and I can see a very distinct neck tattoo on that individual. And he says to me, "You need help." And I said, "I do need help. I need 911. I've lost my phone. It's on the motorcycle over there." And he says, "I've already called 911." And I said, "Okay, thank you for that." And he says, "I'm going now." And I said, "No, don't go. Please stay." And he says, "I will stay and talk to you until I hear the sirens, and then I'm going to go." And he did. And he talked to me on and off. He never came into the clearing. He never came over by me. And again, was I delirious? I don't know. Was I in shock? I don't know. Was he really there? I was talking to someone, and somebody called 911 that morning, but whoever that was not there when the emergency crews showed up. So,
So we have a mystery at hand. Who is this
yes,
long-haired
we do.
stranger that saved Scott's life?
Right.
Do you remember the tattoo?
Well, I just remember, it was kind of a heavy ink tattoo on his neck. I just, again, I'm looking. Again, I've just had a bad accident. I've got a helmet on. It's raining. He's kind of in the brush over there, and so again, I just. My image of that angel that morning was that was a biker that for some reason was on the other side of the road and came looking for me, which I wonder sometimes if I would have done the same thing. I mean, it's kind of, it's a very strange circumstance, but I'm with the tracking system we had on me. Sooner or later, everyone would have figured out that I was stopped and I wasn't supposed to be stopped there. Eventually, I would have been found, but I had a pretty bad leg injury, and the longer it was delayed getting me out of there, the greater chance I had of losing my leg. So I'm glad whoever and whatever that was that he stopped by.
We are especially glad that he stopped by. And, that was a very tough Saturday for the entire team. And a lot of us knew he had wrecked. We knew he was alive, but we knew nothing else for the entire day. So I was in tears that whole Saturday. I mean, I couldn't. I felt my heart was breaking, not knowing what condition you were in. And
Yeah.
and that was really our biggest thing, because we promised that we were going to get you home alive. And
That's right. Well,
you
I promised I was coming home alive, and I remember as soon as I crashed, I was conscious through the whole thing, but I remember, my helmet did its job. I mean, it took a pretty bad hit. I hit right on my chin when I came off the motorcycle, and it felt like somebody hit me with a hammer right in my chin for about 5 days after that. I really hit hard on my chin, but the helmet did its job. I was able to get the helmet off my head, and I knew I'd broken ribs, and I knew I'd broken my left leg. I just didn't know that it was as bad of a break as it was. It's called a compound. It's a cylindrical compression fraction of both the bones in my lower leg, and I fractured my ankle. So it was all twisted up underneath me and cutting off the blood circulation, and so it's a little bit complicated to get it repaired, and I get some more hardware that's got to go back in that leg. For some reason, I broke that same leg. That's the sixth or seventh time now, and I have a beautiful right leg that's never had anything wrong with it at all. But the doctor said, your left leg looks like Swiss cheese. What have you done to your
Oh.
left leg? And I said, well, I've had a couple farming accidents. I've had a couple motorcycle accidents. And I said, you doctors keep drilling holes in it and putting steel plates in it. And he says, well, you're going to get some more steel plates and screws in your leg. And so anyway, we're in that path right now.
And so tomorrow you have a scheduled surgery, which I know that you were battling a little bit of an infection and making sure that the swelling was down so that you can get operated. Do you think it's going to happen on tomorrow or Tuesday?
It's actually Thursday, okay? It's
Oh,
going to
it
be
got moved to
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay.
Yeah, it got moved to Thursday because of the skin infection. Okay,
Okay.
the doctors said we have, they did a 3 hour surgery and they did some massive repair on my tibia, which is the shin bone. That's I've got quite a contraption on me to put everything in place and hold it in place, and they wanted to get the swelling down, try to get some blood circulation back into my calf muscle, and then they're going to repair the fibula, which is the smaller bone in the back of your lower leg, and then I also shattered the ankle in a couple of different places, and so they're going to try to repair the ankle and put the fibula back together, but. He said just because of the stress on your leg and all that, we're not going to open you up until we get rid of this skin bacteria that's kind of growing on you. So I'm on some antibiotics, and yeah, it does make sense. They're not going to open you up if you've got some bacteria on your skin and put that right into the wound again. So, but my wife is going to bring me down to the surgical center in St. Paul, Minnesota. We're leaving at 3:30 in the morning on Thursday morning. I'm checking in at 5 a.m. in the morning, and at 7 in the morning, they're going to put me under the knife again. He's going to fix my leg once and for all, and then I'm going to start kicking some butt.
Well, let's talk about your wife now that you brought her up.
Yes.
So there's a surprise element here and another horrific thing that has happened to the Gottschalk family just last night. Scott, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, I knew I was going to be laid up for quite some time here with, I've got such a bad leg injury that I'm not going to have a walking cast or anything else. I literally have to either try to get around with crutches with broken ribs and or get a wheelchair. And we decided we would get maybe a motorized wheelchair for the next couple 3 months and have a pickup. I have a pickup truck. We were going to get a carrier that holds one of these maybe power wheelchairs on the back end and on the bumper of the truck, and so we found somebody that had one for sale. Astrid loaded me into the back of our pickup truck and she drove me to this place. I'm standing there on crutches, feeling quite helpless as I watched my wife and the two owners of this wheelchair ramp or whatever you want to call it tried hooking it up to the back end of the bumper of our pickup truck, and Astrid was in there and she says, the hole's not lining up on the bumper hitch here. Just hold on a second. And she put her finger in the hole trying to get the hole to line up. And the two owners pulled back on the thing and cut the end of her finger off. And I sat and watched that happen. And it's pretty darn gross. She was bleeding all over the back end of the truck. We had to get a needle nose pliers to get part of her finger out of the hitch of the truck. We got her wrapped up, stopped the bleeding, packed her arm and her hand in ice, got the cut off finger portion out of the hitch and put that on ice. And I said, we got to call 911 now because I can't drive. I'm on crutches with an immobile leg. And I said, we got to call 911. And she says, shut up and get in the truck. I'm driving myself to the emergency room. And I said, I don't think I said, you're going to go into shock with that kind of blood loss and everything else. And she says, shut up and get in the truck. I'm going to drive to the emergency room. And so she drove one-armed, one-handed, over 1 hour to get to an emergency room, and I followed her in on the crutches, and they looked at me with my leg and the bolts coming and screws coming out of my leg. They looked at my wife with her hand held above her head and said, "Are you guys together?" And we said, "Yes, actually, we are together. We both need the fourth emergency room in the last 2 weeks. But this time my wife needs it." And so she got taken care of, and they decided they were not going to reattach the portion that she lost. They were just going to do skin grafting, and eventually, I don't know, they'll maybe pull a little skin off her thigh or something like that and try to heal it up, because it was cut right back to the finger bone or whatever.
I want everyone to know that this happened yesterday, right, Scott?
It was last night. It happened at 5 o'clock at night. Yeah.
And today she's at work. So yes, folks, these people are aliens. They are not human.
No, Astrid is just a badass.
They're aliens. They're aliens. I kid you not. They're superhuman aliens. They just go through all these things, and everything that Scott went through and every injury that he just told us about, I want everyone to know that the only medication that he takes is whole milk.
Well, that's not true. I did take 2 Tylenol since the beginning of this. I took 2 Tylenol.
Oh my gosh. I'm so proud of you for taking something, Scott. But yeah, Scott, because he grew up in farming and with all these different things, he has this strength where he just does not take any kind of painkillers. I'm surprised he took a Tylenol. That's how bad it was. It was mind-blowing. He said he gave birth 4 times in one shot.
Yeah, for sure. When they reset my leg without any painkiller, I think I gave birth to quintuplets. Holy cow, was that? I think I screamed a little bit there.
Yeah. How many people did it take to hold you down for that one?
Astrid was holding my hand. And I was looking her in the eye, and she says, "It hurts, don't it?" And I said, "Worse than anything I ever felt." And they were sitting there with the morphine and the narcotics, and they wanted to inject it. And I said, "Thou shalt not inject me with that stuff."
All right, Scott. Thank you for giving us that report. And next week we'll follow back up and we'll give everybody, because there's a lot of people reaching out to us and contacting us via email, phone calls. I mean, you name it, everybody has been in touch with us and they want us to keep going. So we are re-strategizing right now to make sure that we can keep going. And as soon as Scott recuperates from this, we're definitely going to be pulling him in whatever wheelchair, crutches, special automobiles, all that good stuff. We'll be taking him, and we are going to be touring the loop and starting off our assemblies so that we can let everybody know how to prevent the tragedies of human trafficking, which are amped up and rampant across our country. And we saw this as we toured around that loop that Scott was driving around. From city to city, we were pulling reports and meeting people that have been involved and want to stop this horrific crime. So this is Alexa and Val coming to you from the studios in Miami, Florida, and Scott in Kimball, Minnesota, recuperating and going at the knife again this week. And we'll keep you updated and posted on everything that's going on and how we're going to continue to get to our 120,000 miles. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next week.